43-year-old Bradley Lindsay is charged with disorderly conduct and terroristic threatening after a security officer says he threatened Superintendent Dr. Marty Polio early Monday evening. According to the citation, Lindsay had been arguing with staff inside the educational center about the mask mandates and refused to leave after being asked to do so several times. A school security officer arrived and says he found Lindsay in the back lot in a gold Jaguar with a gun between the front seats. He says Lindsay was starting to leave when he saw Superintendent Dr. Marty Polio leaving the building. That's when the officer says Lindsay jumped out of his car and went to Polio, following the superintendent to the front of the building and yelling threats, including, "Your life is expletive over, and you don't know what I'm capable of doing." Lindsay was not arrested. He is charged with terroristic threatening and disorderly conduct, which are both misdemeanors. JCPS had announced Sunday it would be requiring masks for students and staff who are not vaccinated for the next few weeks. The school board has not decided what its mask policy will be for the upcoming school year.
Right now, we have to follow the guidelines of the Centers for Disease Control as being the experts in our country on what is the best way to move forward to ensure safety for our students and our staff.
This incident comes weeks after protesters disrupted a school board meeting over JCPS increasing racial equity, and after someone vandalized the former home of board member Chris Kolb. School board member James Craig writes in part in a tweet Wednesday, "I'm angry. This city needs to calm down. Someone's going to get hurt." Polio was not the first public figure in Kentucky to receive threats following pandemic safety mandates. In April of 2020, a Louisville lawyer was arrested and charged with terroristic threatening after police say he made threats on social media against Governor Andy Beshear. Those charges were later dropped. JCPS says it cannot comment on this case because it is still an ongoing investigation. Lindsay is due back in court on July 26th. In Louisville, Dennis Singh, WHAS 11 News.
JCPS Superintendent Dr. Marty Polio threatened by a man who said he was armed and upset over the district's new mask mandate. It happened a couple of hours ago after Dr. Polio announced JCPS will require unvaccinated people to wear a mask. The suspect, Brad Lindsay, allegedly threatened Dr. Polio with his life as he was exiting the JCPS building. Wave 3 News troubleshooter Natalia Martinez found out the man has a massive online following and has more on who this man is.
Going mad over masks. An angry parent allegedly goes after JCPS's superintendent, Marty Polio, threatening his life. This happened Monday, the report states, just hours after Polio made this announcement.
From ages 2 and up, those unvaccinated should be wearing masks in school.
That was enough for Bradley Lindsay to cause a scene at the district headquarters, yelling at staff about the mandate, according to the citation, which continues. Once he finally left the building, he waited in his car in the back parking lot until he saw Polio and made a run towards him. He followed Polio to the front door of the building, yelling, "Your life is effing over, and career as you know it, and you don't know what I'm capable of doing." The report says once JCPS security, who are unarmed themselves, arrived, they found Lindsay did in fact have a gun in his car and that Lindsay admitted to having the weapon, telling officers he was upset. I found Bradley Lindsay doesn't have a criminal record, but what he does have is more than 120,000 followers on YouTube. Some of his videos watched more than 1 million times. A self-proclaimed libertarian with outspoken political views. The masks themselves, not the only issue Superintendent Polio now has to deal with.
There's no doubt that is a challenge in the guidance that is given to us by the CDC.
Wave 3 News reporter Taylor Durden is following up on this story tonight. On Wave 3 News at 11, she sits down with Lindsay to hear his side of how things unfolded.
Okay, guys. Yeah, I'm coming to you straight here. As you just saw, I'm probably in a bit of a pickle, or so it would appear. The early news stories from earlier this week got a lot of things wrong, and you're about to hear some of the explanation. I can't go into all of this, and I can't start answering anybody's questions or anything in the comments, so I mean, you're free to leave whatever comments you feel like leaving, but don't expect me to go through and answer comments, unfortunately, because, you know, of course, this is a criminal proceeding now. I do have a lawyer. He is also a YouTuber, in fact, and I think he's going to do a great job. I know I'm going to beat this because everything in the citation is absolutely bunk, And we'll go into that more in just a little bit. But suffice it to say, whenever the news stories first started coming out about this, what had happened on my local news, they got virtually everything wrong because the citation itself, a copy of which I have right here, gets everything wrong. The arresting security guard, or officer, whatever you want to call the guy, basically lied. I don't know how else to characterize it, or he mischaracterized a lot of things. A lot of things were taken out of context. So hopefully this will clear some of it up. I'm going to share some of the news stories that came out later in the day when I had a chance to comment on all of this. I contacted the news myself because I saw some of the stories beginning to come out. A friend of mine actually contacted me and said, hey, was that you on the news just now? So I didn't know what was even going on. So blindsided by it, more or less, about the way it was being reported. And so I decided to contact the news station and try to get my story out there and try to at least get on top of it and get ahead of it before it just became this, let's pile on this guy who we all hate now kind of thing, So I did one interview with a young lady, which you're about to see, and then another news organization which had already run earlier in the day what I consider a quite slanderous report. Came and knocked on my door and started putting a camera in my family's face, but they were at the wrong house. And so once I got them to the right house, I just invited them inside and we sat down, and they eventually treated me very fairly, actually, and I'm thankful that they did that. They could have continued with their deceptive editing and all that kind of stuff and really made me look stupid if they could have tried. It wouldn't have mattered at the end of the day, but it just, the court of public opinion means something, but for me, it matters a great deal because I have an online audience, and, if my name and reputation are slandered in certain ways, then that could harm me long term. But at any rate, I'll show you some of the remaining coverage, and like I said, I can't answer any other questions or go into any more details or really talk about this case any further than that, what's already been said. On the advice of my lawyer, who is going to be very expensive, by the way. And on that note, I'm probably going to sell a few items from my collection. You guys can score some stuff and at the same time help me defend myself against what is an absolute travesty of a citation here, which I will beat. And it's important to me because it's my name, and that's pretty much all I've got, So... things are different when you're a father, guys. I don't know how many of you are fathers. I know a lot of you probably have already clicked off because this is not relevant to you or your lives. Because it's just like, why is this guy doing this? I don't understand. But, some things you will grow to understand when you become a father. And, you see things happening to your kids that don't need to be happening. And, you want to stand up for them and you want to do what's best for them. But down in the description, there is a link if you guys want to support me to help me with this in this fight, because like I said, my lawyer is going to be quite expensive to fight this. One of the charges on here, terroristic threatening in the 3rd degree, you could read about it in Kentucky statute, but I think it carries up to a year in jail. Now, that's not likely, I don't think, at least, considering I have no other offenses on my record or anything like that. The disorderly conduct in the 2nd degree is still, any charge is a serious offense to me because I'm not used to getting criminal charges, so to some people, maybe that's not so serious, but to me, it's very serious, and I need to take this very seriously. And if you guys want to help out, there's a PayPal link down below. If you want to just chip in a couple bucks, it would really, really help me in this time. I'm trying to raise enough money to defend myself against all this and head this all off and protect my kids, man. And that's basically, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So thank you very much, and here's what I can show you so far.
More local now. This is Wave 3 News.
I was there exercising my First Amendment rights to talk to that man. All of the allegations are false and baseless, and I have some video that can prove it.
A JCPS parent facing charges after school security says he threatened Superintendent Dr. Marty Pollio, upset about the mask mandate. This is Wave 3 News at 11. I'm John Bull.
And I'm Shannon Kogan. He says the citation is wrong. Wave 3 News reporter Taylor Durden sat down with him to get his side of the story.
Bradley Lindsay says he's done with the mask mandates. Concerned for his 10-year-old daughter who's on the autism spectrum.
With these mask mandates and her being in a mask and all of her peers being in a mask, it makes it doubly hard for her to understand people's emotions.
After JCPS announced those who are not fully vaccinated will have to wear masks indoors when on school property, Lindsay says he called to try to talk to JCPS Superintendent Dr. Marty Pollio. When he felt his concerns weren't being heard, he says he went to Van Hoos Education Center. According to a citation, Lindsay was arguing with staff inside the Van Hoos Education Center on Monday about the mask mandate and was asked to leave multiple times and refused. He says that's not true.
Is Marty Pollio, is he in this building?
This video is from Lindsay when he walked into the building. In the first 24 minutes of his time in the building, this video shows that he was not asked to leave the building. We don't know how much longer he was inside or what happened after this particular video stopped recording. The citation states that school security officers found Lindsay outside Van Hoos in his car, and he admitted to having a gun in the car.
He was like, do you have any weapons on you? And I said, yes, I have a constitutional carry. And he's like, where is it? I said, it's under my seat. But I'm not harm to anybody. I'm not going to hurt anybody or reach for it or grab it or nothing like that. And he was like, that's all I wanted to know. And that was it. It was just a really calm conversation.
The citation also states Lindsay said, quote, "You don't know what I'm capable of doing." Lindsay says that comment was in agreement with the security guard asking if he had a weapon. According to the report, Lindsay allegedly followed Pollio, yelling, "Your life is expletive over and career as you know it."
And that's not what I said. I said, your life is over as it pertains to your career, sir. I said, I have enough of a following that I could make this very difficult for you, et cetera, kind of thing. I didn't say I wasn't threatening the man's life. I wasn't anything like that.
And the following that he's talking about there is Lindsay has more than 120,000 followers on YouTube. Some of his videos have been watched more than 1 million times. Lindsay's now facing terroristic threatening and disorderly conduct charges. He tells me that he does plan to run for school board. He's expected to appear in court on July 26. JCPS says this is part of an ongoing investigation and they cannot provide any further comment. In the studio, Taylor Durden, Wave 3 News.
A father was cited accused of threatening JCPS Superintendent Marty Pollio. It happened on Monday outside the Van Hoos Education Building. WDRB's Darby Bean breaks down that citation and why the father says it's a big misunderstanding.
This man, Brad Lindsay, is a JCPS parent. He says after a phone call to the district, he felt like his concerns weren't being heard and decided to go to the education building in person.
Like I said, I'm a concerned parent, and I'm trying to get my questions answered. That was it.
JCPS parent Brad Lindsay cited on charges of terroristic threatening and disorderly conduct. According to a citation, Lindsay started arguing with staff inside the Van Hoos Education Building on Monday about the district's mask mandates and was asked to leave multiple times and refused. He says that's not the case.
And at no point was I belligerent with those people.
He says he took this video of himself inside the building and claims it supports his statements. The citation reads that Lindsay, quote, aggressively approached Superintendent Dr. Marty Pollio outside, yelling things at him like, "Your life is expletive over." Lindsay says that's not what he said.
I said, your career is over. I said, your life is over as it pertains to your career.
The citation explains that school security found Lindsay outside in his car, and he admitted to having a gun in the car.
I carry a firearm regardless, and that's a separate thing. I have a constitutional right to carry a firearm, and I do that anyway. That's not something I did just because I was going down there.
The current mask policy that brought Lindsay to Van Hoos is that students and staff who are not fully vaccinated against COVID-19 must wear a mask inside JCPS school buildings. Lindsay says he doesn't want his kids in masks, and his main concern is for his 10-year-old daughter, who he says is on the autism spectrum.
She especially is being discriminated against, I feel, with these mask mandates because she already has a tough time sometimes feeling out when jokes aren't funny anymore and when it's time to stop talking and just things like this that really hinder her in her social development.
Wednesday, Superintendent Dr. Marty Pollio did not comment on the encounter, but says a decision on masks for the upcoming school year won't be made until later this month.
We made the mask policy for our summer programming right now because of the CDC guidance.
Lindsay is scheduled to be in court later this month. He says he plans on running for school board. Darby Bean, WDRB News.